After nearly 2 decades away from Star Trek, Jean-Luc Picard is back. But does Star Trek Picard start off strong, or is Remembrance just a nostalgia trip with no real destination? Craig and I are diving into what's good, what's bad, and what's absolutely batshit crazy about this episode. Engage.
Welcome back to another good, bad, and batshit. This time, a series that was really well heralded. I've got to say, the hype. My God. Of course, we're talking about Picard and the episode Remembrance. Well, were you excited for Picard when it was announced?
Oh, and then some. And I think we were all really excited for it, even though that it had been heralded and made sure that everybody knew that it was not just a next generation continuation. It was, it
Yeah.
wasn't the next generation cast. It was Picard and his life after that. But I think the thing that really got us was when the first trailer hit
Mm.
and the panning shot over Chateau Picard and that turned up, data turned up, and all the rest of it. I was like, we're suddenly teenagers again.
Yeah, yeah. Well, of course, I mean, Data's in the opening shot, isn't he? Yeah, very exciting. Very, very exciting. Um, okay, well, let's just dive straight in, as we like to do with you, Craig. Put you under pressure and get you to do a 60-second synopsis.
Oh, this will be a rubbish shorter version.
Well, your time starts now.
After a very nice dream sequence with the introduction of guilt with Picard and Data on in 10 forward, Picard wakes up in Chateau Picard. He's retired admiral who's been out of Starfleet for 14 years and is about to have a press conference about the time the Romulan relocation after the sun went supernova. And in Boston, Dahj, a young girl, is celebrating being accepted into the Daystrom Institute and is suddenly attacked by Romulans that we don't know are the Romulans straight away. Her boyfriend killed, and she goes on the run. And she seems to have it in her mind and in her psyche. She must find Jean-Luc Picard. And why and where and what is the relationship with Dahj and Picard? We shall find out in a very action-packed episode.
And that's 60 seconds. That was that's one of your best ones, I'd say.
Yeah, yeah.
May
Could have
not
gone
be
on
the
for an
high
hour and
bar
a
it
half.
sounds like, but you know.
It's a very low bar.
Well done.
May as well start
Uh,
limboing now.
that was really, really good. Apparently I heard they were initially going to actually reference Spock's mission to try and save Romulus in the
Yeah, I mean
dialogue
it is.
to
I
link
mean it
it to the
is.
movie.
Yeah, because I mean it is a direct continuation
Mm,
of the J.J. Abrams in the prime timeline when Spock went, which I think was a genius idea. It's really. I think this series gets a lot of crap for season one and season two. I
mm.
mean, everyone loves season three because it's just a big next generation loving. But I really, really love season one and two. I think there's just so much good. And again, this was a bit different because with CBS All Access becoming Paramount Plus and Paramount Plus not having the worldwide distribution that it had to begin with, they got a deal with Amazon Prime for worldwide. And a certain Jeff Bezos in charge of Amazon is possibly one of the world's biggest Star Trek fans, and he jumped at the chance. He didn't care what it was going to cost or anything like that. He wanted Picard.
Yeah. I was finding it really funny being reminded that Jeff Bezos is a Star Trek fan, um, given how South Park portrayed him as a Telosian. Which I find really funny. Yeah,
I mean,
that's going into some real deep cuts there.
yeah, I mean, how did you feel when you saw the first episode? What was your initial thoughts? Apart from the good, bad, bad, just what was your emotions when you were going through watching it?
uh, I was. It left me feeling curious about where it was going. I tried not to have expectations, but I can't help it sometimes. And I suppose, anticipating more of a next generation vibe to it, which it absolutely 100% didn't, of course.
Yeah.
So yeah, I enjoyed it. It was a thrill ride. But yeah, it did leave me sort of scratching my head a bit, like I didn't know what it was.
And
Um,
I think also the fact with this similar in respect to um, the start of Discovery, the majority of the cast and the majority of where the season was going isn't really introduced that much in the first episode. It's really to get your head into where Picard is, where the Federation is, where it's laying the foundations of where everybody is at, 20
yeah,
years after the next generation essentially.
yeah. It
And it's
also
a it's
feels
a it has a hard job. It's got some heavy lifting to do.
yes. With hindsight, it feels to me that the first episode's job is to show the schism between Picard and the Federation or Starfleet, rather.
Yeah.
And yeah, leaning into that. But yeah, mm, right. Shall we dive into what was good about it, what we liked about it, first of all?
I think the first thing that I've got to say is the thing that gave me the biggest hope for everything was the opening sequence. The what we figure was it is a dream sequence on 10 forward on the Enterprise D
Mm,
with Picard and Data, and you just realize that there's two of the most iconic Star Trek characters, and they are back on our screens in something new. And it's
mm.
like, yay. And you can see as well you can see straight away the Patrick Stewart's different portrayal as Picard because he's no longer the captain. He's no longer like, he's more human than he's ever been.
Yeah,
And he's damaged. He's not broken. He's damaged. And and the guilt with everything with happened with Data and something like that. And I just think it's interesting. Also, you can tell it's a bit of a dream sequence thing because you've got the juxtaposition because you've got Data in his dream on the Enterprise D, but wearing a post first contact uniform.
mm,
And then later in a dream sequence, he's got his next generation uniform. So I'm not going to nitpick that because it's dream sequences. So it doesn't have to make sense what uniform, what he's got in whatever time period or whatever's happening there. I'm not going to pick at that.
yes, yeah, absolutely. And that's got to have been conscious choices. Yeah,
Because that's when Data died wearing that uniform.
yes, and I suppose Picard would remember his captaincy as being of the D rather than the E or Stargazer even. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Absolutely. Well, mine, I'm going straight in with the big guns. Patrick Stewart.
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to say that, but I thought you're going to say that. I'll let you have that one because we're all just gonna fanboy on Sir Pat. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I mean, he is obviously a phenomenal actor. And the way he just so effortlessly slips back into the role of Jean-Luc and bringing the depth and gravitas. Like I say, he's a changed Picard, but he's still recognizable as Picard.
Yeah.
Mm,
Do you also
yeah,
think the
just
fact
quietly.
that how important the character of Jean-Luc is to Patrick Stewart as an actor and as a person?
Yeah.
Because over the years, I think even as he's getting older, he's more and more and more embraced the role.
Yes.
And he's
Oh, totally.
always been proud of it. But I think, again, as he's getting older, he's become more proud of his work on Star Trek.
Mm.
And I think he's even said that, you if you'd asked him 40 years ago, would he have been proud that he's most famously around the world as Captain Picard? He would have been a bit, I'm an actor, I'm a Shakespeare, I do all this. I think now, yes, he's done all that. Yes, he appreciates all that. But for what he thinks Picard is given to him as a person and as not just as a part, but as friendships and everything he's actually got from the role.
Yeah,
Fair
absolutely.
play to him. He's in his 80s, and I do think he'd love to go back to it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he clearly enjoyed it. Although it's so much to unpick there. The fact that he didn't even unpack his suitcases when he was filming Farpoint because he just didn't think it was going to go anywhere.
Yeah.
To know is a phenomenal journey. I did a video about that, so check out the link above for that one. But also, I mean, he has done some questionable jobs over the years into Life Force, in the one that springs to mind, naked space vampires from Halley's Comet.
Matilda May, come on.
Oh yeah. I'm not knocking her, but
We're back to kind of, yeah. I'm not going to be a dirty old man now. So
yeah, Teenage Stew, big fan.
Teenage Craig, very very big fan.
But yeah, dodgy writing, definitely. But yeah. Anyway, he's fantastic. We love him. And yeah, that was the other thing I was going to mention was the fact that, like you say, he would come back to it. I think he would now, but one of his stipulations about coming back and doing Picard was that it would not be the Next Generation, that the rest of the cast, basically, it just wouldn't be a nostalgia fest,
Yeah.
which, from where season 3 goes, I find quite ironic. But yeah.
I think it was necessary for season 3 because if it was going to be the last hurrah of Picard, and I think it was necessary for them to do the big Next Generation thing, and he embraced it. And I think it was it not one of Patrick's ideas later on that, right, we've done this, now let's put like the icing on the cake and the cherry on the top.
Yeah, he completely did a U-turn.
But it was a brave choice to bring the series back doing what they did.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. What's your second good?
Well, my second thing was going to actually be the cast. I know that you were going to go for the Patrick Stewart one, so I was going to go for the cast. I think the casting on this was really good. It was great to see Brent Spiner back. I think, he's as much as he likes to get away from Data, by God, if he's given a chance to do something meaty with the role or with versions of it, he loves Star Trek just as much as the rest of them. And I think he likes to be a little bit curmudgeonly about it a little bit, but realistically, deep down, he's Data. People know. But what I've got to say is throughout Picard and throughout the 3 seasons of it, one of my favorite characters of all is Laris Orla Brady, an Irish Romulan. You gotta love her. She is absolutely fantastic. I mean, she gets short shift in season 3.
Yes.
As I say, but in season 1, you can see that there's got her and Picard, even though she's married to Shaban at the time, there's a good kind of relationship there. And it's a natural, you see it's It's just great, and she's just brilliant. I mean, don't get us wrong. I thought she was brilliant when she was a guest star in Fringe, especially because, yeah, Peter's mom.
And Doctor Who.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
she's been around a lot.
Yeah.
No, she's a great
Yeah. So,
actress.
yeah, I mean, there's not many people can say they got it on with both Jean-Luc Picard and the Doctor. There we go. Matt Smith's Doctor, no less. Anyway, yeah, that's. I would totally agree with that. For me, my second one is that it feels fresh, and it feels new. Even though we obviously we know Picard, we know Data, but the story sort of evolving on Data's legacy, with Dahj and Soji, or Soji later on. At the moment, it's just Dahj that we know of, and the conspiracy. Really compelling hook for the whole series. Really compelling. It felt new. If and that's kind of like I was a bit. I don't know what this is yet. It is because it was so fresh. So that's a really good thing, I think.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. And it had good pacing in the first episode. Yes, there's a lot of exposition in it,
Mm.
but it's got action, it's
Yeah.
got drama, it's got pathos, it's got humor, it's got everything in there that you would want for the start of a new Star Trek series.
Yes. Yeah. What's your last good? I'm sure it's not your last good, but
Oh, I
what's
could
what
go
you're
on.
sharing with us?
What I really like is the way that it was shot, and it was shot. It
It's
was
my
it was
third one as well.
well. I'll explain. It was shot pretty much like a film, like a movie, because it had the scale. It was, it didn't come back and everything was suddenly like shipbound and sound stages and stuff. You had a lot of outdoor exteriors, like the films, like First Contact and Insurrection and Nemesis. You had outside shooting. It gave you a good sense of scope, and I think the depiction of the late 24th century, just to really hit take 25th century Earth, was really nicely done. The designs are like Starfleet. I mean, using a lot of real world places
Mm.
to shoot on, like for Starfleet and for the Daystrom Institute and stuff like that. Everything looked big, it looked real, it looked natural. It just gave you the nice feel of what 24th century Earth could be like. Yes, I know it's a lot of it's like, 21st century, just made to look a little bit posh, a bit, a lot of glass and things like that. But I think it looked really nice.
Yes. Yes. The note I've put for myself is beautiful cinematic production. Um, yeah, it feels really like a high budget sci-fi film rather than a TV episode. In terms of locations, I felt having lots of on location shots made it feel much more grounded
Yeah.
as an episode, like literally and metaphorically, rather than it being in space and it's all pew pews and it made it feel grittier.
But budgetary wise, it was a lot as a Star Trek series, it was a lot more expensive to film because Picard, unlike the rest of the Star Trek productions, was actually filmed in LA rather
Mm,
than up in Canada.
yeah.
So, it was a more expensive shoot.
Mm, yes, but it looks good and it paid off. Absolutely. Fantastic. But let's bite the bullet and move to things that we thought perhaps could have been better. And what was bad?
This I'm gonna put this into this episode, even though it doesn't really happen till episode 2. And it's just a thematic thing.
Hmm.
It's the use of the F bombs in it.
Okay.
I know we're jumping into episode 2 about, where the Admiral
Hmm.
does, it's a classic line about, Picard and his F-bomb hubris.
Hmm.
But this goes to where I think they slightly misjudged Picard. It gets a bit gory, and you've got the more adult language. And I think the problem is Star Trek was always a show that families could watch. So when you start introducing the more adult elements, fair enough, but sometimes there's just where you've got to pull it back a little bit. Now, having not watched the broadcast versions, I don't know because a lot of TV shows when stuff's done on the likes of Paramount Plus and stuff like that, they film two versions.
Mm.
So you've essentially got the version like for that goes out on streaming and stuff like that. But they also got a version where it's toned down and you've got different cuts. So all the swearing's taken out, and some in certain shows where they've got nudity, the nudity's taken out just to be broadcastable on that way.
Yeah.
But it's just a shame because if you're somebody who you're introducing your kids and stuff like that to Star Trek, and something like Picard's an absolute fantastic show,
Mm.
but then you've got the F bombs in. And I mean, don't get us wrong, there was swearing in like, generations and stuff, but it's the S word and it's done for comedic effect, and it's not
Yes.
it's not flippity see you next Tuesdays.
Yes, you can imagine little 3-year-old Timmy there, sat on the settee next to his dad, being introduced to Star Trek. Dad, what's hubris?
It's like peace and long life. Go flip yourself.
Yeah.
It's not quite.
Peace and long life, mother flippers. Yeah. Right. Sorry, that's my mariner. Anyway, yeah, no, I get where you're coming. To me, that I can see why it's in your bad list. I didn't feel the same way about it. I felt Star Trek's becoming much more compartmentalized in terms of its audiences now. So, like Prodigy, definitely a kids show. Lower Decks, definitely adult humor. Picard, I felt was just aimed at an adult audience. Kind of like what Doctor Who did with Sarah Jane Adventures and Torchwood, and you would never show a child Torchwood, obviously, except for the one that you saw.
All the kids used to watch Torchwood. They did. All the kids used to watch Torchwood.
Oh, I remember years ago going into a Toys R Us, and I'm looking around at the thing, and they've got so these are not models, these are toys aimed at kids and packaged for kids of alien xenomorphs. And I'm like, hang on, that's an 18 movie, but the toys are anyway, don't get me started on that. So I think I'll be here all day.
It's another rabbit hole.
But yeah, I felt it was well placed, but I can see why for some people it would be a bad. My first bad is also thematic. It's the theme. I hate the theme for it.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know why. It's the only Star Trek theme that I'll skip.
I don't mind it. It's not quite Enterprise level of.
You don't have faith in the heart, obviously.
I don't have faith in that.
I love the Enterprise thing. Anyway, I don't know. It's really, to me, it's just too slow and it's boring, and the theme sequence is I don't know what it is.
I don't know. In my head, I thought when they were going to release it, before they actually did, I thought they were going to do something along the lines of reworking the Next Generation theme, the theme from the motion picture, because there are, in the soundtrack to the motion picture, there are like slower versions of Jerry Goldsmith's score. So I thought they might have gone along those lines. But when it gets to season 3 musically, though, come on.
Oh
First
yeah,
concert.
oh no,
That's what it
season
needs to be.
3, absolutely. But like even season 2, when they're trying to just make the season 1 theme give it a darker edge, yeah, that still didn't work for me. No, season 3, fine, no problem with that one. But seasons 1 and 2, nah, didn't like it. And I get the imagery, I get what they're going for. I understood the imagery of the sequence, but it just, I don't know, no.
Yeah.
It
But I
felt
think
like
it's,
a first year
but
student's art project.
yeah, but the thing is I think with Picard, what they've done over the 3 seasons with the title sequence is fairly clever, where the title sequence is about the story. Forget the music. The title sequence, whether you enjoy it or not, is quite clever, because you don't realize until you get to by the end of the season, where all the pieces fit in.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I get that, but it's like, see, that's part of it. They're showing you things that will make sense at the end. It's like, well, why are you showing it me now then? If you
but
know it's not going to make sense now.
yeah, but also, to be fair, a lot of people nowadays, when they're watching it on stream, will just hit skip for the title sequence. So.
Which, yeah, this is the one that I do. Yeah, yeah. So there we go. Anyway, that's my first my gripe, my grumble.
All right. My second one
Mhm.
is the stuntman who is Patrick Stewart's stuntman in the episode. It is so obviously somebody who is about 50 years younger. Because you've got when Picard's running and they got the stuntman running, he looks absolutely nothing like him. And it's just jarring. I mean, obviously, you don't expect somebody in the mid-80s to be sprinting around all over the place and stuff like that. But it's just so obviously not.
Yeah.
It's just watch it. You'll once you see it, and once you if you're not paying that much attention, fair enough. But when you're actually watching it, and especially kind of since stuff's in like HDR and kind of 4K and
Mm,
everything, now you see it a lot more. And
yeah.
it's like, oh yeah, no.
One to watch for, definitely. I can see that. For me, I think this is one of those things, there's a fine line with it, and probably everybody's line between not enough and too much is going to be different. But for me, the callbacks from the Next Generation, there were just a few too many. It's nice to have some, and a bit of nostalgia is great, but it felt like it started over relying on callbacks a little bit.
Like South
Everybody
Park said,
was.
you member berries.
Member berries. Ah, remember. Yeah, yeah. Although the one that I really did like was the bringing in the Doctor from the Stargazer.
Oh yeah, that's in episode 2, isn't it?
Is
Yeah,
that episode
yeah,
2?
it's
Oh yeah,
episode 2.
yeah, 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 yeah. But that I thought was a clever move. But yeah,
Yeah, but it also sets up the fact that he's not seen Crusher in years by the time we get to season 3.
yes, yes. Although I don't know if we knew that at the time. I don't know if they knew that at the time.
But it works, so we're just.
It works.
Do you see that carpet just underneath?
Yeah, it just. Excuse me. Yeah, that's my second one.
Okay, my third one is let's all depart to the Daystrom Institute in Okinawa. Okie dokie. This is where I said I'm going to link into Harry Mudd in our last episode
Okay.
on short treks. Is when he's talking to Girardi and they're talking about data, and before and all Soong stuff, they are saying that they can't replace anything like data. No, just anything like data, not just data, but anything like data. And the Android technology, because obviously since what happened on Mars, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on. They couldn't replace data. They couldn't do anything to a level of Android technology or even to do like sentient Android technology for 1,000 years. Fair enough. But get back to the fact that they can't do anything to replace data at the moment, technologically wise. You go back to Harry Mudd and Short Treks, those Android replacements of himself looked perfect. Don't get us wrong, they're not necessarily like data, but something similar to in iMud, and there's loads of original series episodes where you've got advanced cybernetics and androids who look like humans. But to then turn around and say that they can't do anything like data is just BS. There's stuff years previous, and there are other episodes, there's other shows where you've got androids who look perfectly human.
The original series episode, "What a Little Girl's Made Of," instantly comes to mind.
There's loads of stuff like that. So this is where you've just got to be a bit more clever with your writing.
I suppose I'd always taken that as sentience being the indefinable, magical soul aspect. Which, Mudd's robots weren't sentient, but yeah. But but if that's what they meant, they should have been more specific about it. Yeah. I'd go with that. For me, my last one is a bit of an odd one in that for a story about Picard, like this is not The Next Generation where it's about the crew of the Enterprise. This is specifically about Picard. He spends the entire episode being reactive. He's not leading. He's not taking charge. He's not taking control. He's just reacting to everything that happens. So basically, he's become a passenger in the story rather than the story lead.
I get that, and I think he actually acknowledges that at the end of the episode after the incident at Starfleet where Dahj is killed, and this is well going to a little bit Batshit bit. He says that he realizes that he's just been, existing, not living, and reacting, and not, he's let things get away from him. And I think that the end of the episode is the turning point in his life where he realizes that he's just been reacting and hiding away and just.
Yeah,
because he's not the Picard we remember at the start of this episode. He's not. He's beaten down.
No, and we wouldn't expect it to, because 25 years has gone by.
But it's also he's disillusioned with Starfleet, and Starfleet was his life. Didn't have family, didn't have kids, yet he feels betrayed by everything that he lived by Starfleet, and and it's funny because this is one of the things that it even links in season 3, because you've got the episode where Jack Crusher is watching him. He went to see him, and he didn't realize when 10 forward, and he's watching, and then he's going on about how important Starfleet is, and that it's his family and stuff. So all this stuff does link in. And stuff down there. But I get what you mean. I do get what you mean.
But now we brushed off the dirtiness of the bad part, because we did love Picard. It has to be said. What was weird about it then?
What I find, the way that they went and the way that they've dealt with Starfleet in the decisions that Starfleet have made over the last 20 years since he's left Starfleet, and how Starfleet has become so not the Starfleet that Picard believed in. With what happened with the basically the robot revolution, and them abandoning the relocation of the Romulans, and all this kind of stuff there. And I understand they're trying to parallel the world today like Star Trek does. But, to be brave enough and to be, to think that Starfleet isn't the institution that it is, and it's got a proper downer on Starfleet and the Federation. And considering that the Federation's supposed to be the guiding light and supposed to be, I mean, we know very well there's been rotten apples, and Starfleet have always, Starfleet and the Federation have done some dodgy things in the past.
Yes.
But this seems to layer on the problems on top of problems on top of problems. But it also, you don't feel like that yes, they're trying to fix some problems in here, but it doesn't feel like we need to fix this situation. We need to get the Federation and Starfleet back to where it should be. There doesn't seem to be almost like a moral crusade to fix things yet.
No. No, I'm with you on that. I mean, we do get, of course, to find out how much the Romulans, well, Commodore O, who I believe is half Romulan, half Vulcan, how much she's been influencing that decline. And so Discovery did something similar with Earth, not the Federation, but Earth as a standalone sort of nation. Discovery did a similar thing where Earth was like, no, we're going to look after our own borders and we're not rejoining a federation. But you can understand it because after the burn and the effects of that, you can, while you might not agree with it, you can at least understand it. But this federation, no, it seems a bit off, a bit weird. Yeah, good call. Good call. Mine is about the robot revolution. The weird way that I'm going to choose my words so carefully here, the androids self-terminate. So, they commit havoc, death, and destruction, and then self-terminate. Wouldn't it have made more sense for the Romulans to just have them keep on doing havoc and chaos until the humans terminate them? It's a weird choice. I mean, it's dramatic, but it's an odd way for them to be taken off the board.
Yeah. And I mean, I think my second thing links into that, and it's going back to season 2, Next Generation Measure of a Man. The fact that you've got these subservient, in quote mark, androids existing in the Federation in any case was pretty much against what the Federation were wanting in any case, because the whole point of the thing with Data is that you're not, say hello, Pepper, say goodbye, Pepper. You're not wanting a slave race, but here it is.
Kenny comes back to that sentience thing.
Yeah.
So those synths, and like the one that we see in detail, F8 Fate, by the way. Yeah, just thought I'd throw that out there because it took me a few watches to realise. Fate, F8, Fate. Anyway.
But I mean, I know, because they say really you don't say the androids properly till later on in the season in flashback, but the way that the humans treat them is
it's
a bit dodgy.
Even though we recognise that they're not sentient, they are basically just machinery. It's a strange one. Do you think they were sending, like you say, we parallel Star Trek parallels the real world
Yeah.
and the current world. Do you think there was a message about sort of nationalism, perhaps, in there?
Distinctly possible.
Yeah,
Distinctly possible.
I can see that. I
See,
can see
Pepe, you're determined, aren't you?
that. um, so
But
my next Batshit one is so Picard is one of the most famous people in Federation history. Random people on the street, even the main receptionist at Starfleet headquarters doesn't know who he is.
that's episode 2. But yeah,
That's episode 2,
yeah.
okay, but random people on the street in the
No,
first
you're right.
episode
You're right. Yeah, yeah,
don't recognize him.
yeah.
Um, I don't know. I'm trying to make a comparison in my own head. Um, yeah, I find that bizarre. But then I couldn't tell you what any of the generals of our military look like or anything. But then
But
they're
to
not
be
in the
fair,
news like we would be.
if you go back to the early Gulf Wars and stuff like that, you knew Storm and Norman Schwarzkopf, people like that. You knew when action was happening and things and stuff like that. There's people who you know and you would remember.
Yes, yes,
Now, Second
exactly.
World War, you knew who Monty was, and
Mhm.
you also knew who Rommel was. So
Yes,
you might not know a lot about them, but you would know the name and you probably know the face if you saw it.
yes, and the one with the fun little mustache, Charlie Chaplin. That's the one.
That's the one, yes, the great dictator.
Yep, he's a tater, all right. And anyway,
Definitely a dick, but there you go.
yeah. What's your last weird one?
At the end, and the big action sequence at Starfleet with the Romulans and the fight with Dahj dies, and Picard is flown backwards by a massive explosion that would have probably killed somebody in their 30s, never mind in their 80s or 100 as he is in this thing. He suddenly wakes up at home, with his two Romulan friends there, looking after him, lying on the couch, and just saying that the police found no evidence of anything going on. So, well, hold on, like for a start, he's right next to Starfleet. So would he not have been at Starfleet Medical? Would there not have been a internal investigation and things and stuff there? But he just suddenly turned up, suddenly back at home
Mm,
without without somebody from Starfleet security there interrogating and finding out what happened. You've got a Starfleet admiral who was injured in an explosion on the top of a Starfleet building.
yeah,
That's just a bit like, we couldn't afford to do a whole big thing. It would have taken up too much time. It needs to. We've got 2 minutes to get this scene done and get this thing done. It's just a bit like, okay, you've got to suspend the disbelief a little bit.
yeah, yeah. That was definitely a bit crazy. I mean, the fact like you say, he survived it at all is just
What's Pepper think?
mad. My last one, simply because there's a certain phrase I want to say. It's the Coat Millat in themselves, because space warrior nuns. You can't get more batshit than space warrior nuns.
Yeah, I think that I think the the assassins in the bike helmets in the black with the like personal transporters or whatever they've got to be able to drive. I think it was quite cool.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like a. Oh, I can't even remember the name of their organization now, but yeah, like the Tal Shiar Secret Service.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. But yeah, Space Warrior Nuns who have absolute candor. I mean, for Romulans,
Yeah,
that's
for
that's
the
nuts.
Romulans to tell the truth.
Yeah.
Really?
Open about it. I mean, a Romulan might not lie, but they're not telling you everything.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
yeah, that's it. I found that absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy. But yeah, Picard. So you were saying not fair. It's caused you to rewatch the whole thing.
Yeah, you've got us on that now. So once I'm finishing off rewatching The Good Fight, and which I'm doing at the minute, and just finished watching Andor, and so yeah, Picard's back up in there. So, I just really enjoyed rewatching it. So that's my spare time gone.
I'll
Off and
confess,
doing.
I didn't start on. Well, I mean, I obviously rewatched Remembrance, but I then jumped to season 2 because Q.
But no, I like season one. I think the stuff with the artifact is interesting,
Mm,
and you're trying to look at where the Alpha Quadrant is in the situation. I think one of the big shames that you've got with Picard is just the lack of Klingons. You don't know
mm.
what's happening in the Empire at the time, and you don't know what's necessarily happening. But this it just predominantly deals with the Romulans, which is no bad thing. We love the Romulans in any case.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But there we go, everyone. That's our mission report on the good, bad, and batshit of Picard's Remembrance. So if you enjoyed this deep space debrief, engage your impulse to like and share with your fellow Trekkies and fire off your reactions in the comments below. What did you think was the best, the worst, and the outright craziest moments of this episode? Don't forget as well to like and subscribe. I can't even say it.
Get your
I'll
teeth
try
back
that again.
in.
Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that bell icon so you never miss a single review as we chart new Star Trek territory. Until next time, peace and long life
Live long and prosper.
and space warrior nuns.
Yay!